The Goldwater Institute recently released a report and hosted a debate on clean elections based on a report it has done on Arizona's public campaign financing law. Here are some excerpts from that debate.
A small gathering listened to the Goldwater Institute's critique of Arizona's public campaign finance law, Clean Elections. The Institute, which does not favor public campaign financing, criticized clean elections on several points. The report claims that clean elections has not increased competition in elections.
Now, the other thing we looked at that was one of the promises of the clean elections law is competition. Incumbent re-election rates were falling, and the proponents of clean elections in other states took this as great news. Incumbent victory margins were falling, and proponents of clean elections took this as great news. In 2004, those trends reversed, getting less competitive, which is to say incumbent re-election rates were rising. Great news if you're an incumbent. There might be some incumbents here. This isn't a personal thing, but you know, this is one of the metrics of competition that we were looking at.
Todd Lang, executive director of the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission, provided a rebuttal to the Goldwater report.
So we looked at the second indicator. How's the competition doing? Do we have more competition? Well, again, the total number of candidates went down in 2004, and as she acknowledges, and as I think redistricting is a big part of that. Clean Elections is designed to help folks who want to run and either don't want to take private contributions or don't have access to the big money contributions. It's not going to change a non-competitive district into a competitive district. So if you're that person who thinks, I want to run and Clean Elections is the only way I'm going to be able to do it, but gosh, the percentages just don't favor me, they may rethink it. And if you have a competitive district, I think you'd find a very different result.
The Goldwater report also looked at the effect Clean Elections has had on voter turnout. In 6 years, it's been in effect.
There's no trend, really. It ebbs and flows. It's a sawtooth. Now, that is voter turnout as a percent of voter registration. Some people don't like to use that particular metric and would prefer to use voter turnout as percent of voting age population. That gets rid of sort of the ebbs and flows of registration that would occur. Of course, in a fast-growing state like Arizona, there's reasons to think that that might be a hard metric to use too. Either way you measure it, no indication that the Clean Elections law has done anything to stimulate voter turnout necessarily.
Well, she points out that turnout has not been rising a great deal over the last few years. And I'd note, and she alluded to it, to be fair, that from 98 to 2002, there was a big increase in turnout. She points out that that fluctuates. And she also pointed out what I think is the key issue, which is redistricting. We you know, without the competitive districts, I think you're going to have issues with the effectiveness of some of the reforms. But ultimately, I think this is a false argument, because really that wasn't the focus of the voters of Arizona when they enacted this law. What it's really about is communication with candidates, about new candidates being able to run, candidates who have good ideas, who'd make a quality candidate but don't have access to that special interest money, those big donors. The ability of folks to respond to attack ads, the ability of folks to run effective campaigns, ultimately more speech.
The report also looked at clean elections from the standpoint of the number of people who make a $5 contribution to clean elections on their tax forms. That's up 9%. But the report said the increase was due to people wanting to save money on their taxes, although you do have to make a contribution to get the credit. Former Federal Elections Commission Chairman Brad Smith spoke at the event and talked about the tax credit.
Why don't more people participate in Arizona? 25% participate. You get $5 for participating. All right, now you, sir, Paul Green. Tell you what, if you will put a check on your pad right now, I will give you $5. You don't think I'm serious, do you? No. Okay, but if you thought I'd serious, I bet you'd check that box. I mean, how hard is it? If there were $5 lying on the floor here, I'd bend over and pick it up, and I'm a pretty well-off guy, okay? It's amazing to me that 75% of Arizonans say, no, I will not put a check in a box to get $5. I think you could find a more damning statistic of the system. And the fact that more people are doing it may show nothing more than somebody scratching, hey, you know, you get $5 if you check that box. Oh, well, okay, what the heck?
Allison looked at the tax checkoffs and noted that they're up. Well, I agree. And I think it's an indicator of support. You know, it went from 14% in 2001 to 25% last time. Now, she points out economic self-interest. But what I'd say is, did we suddenly get smarter in 2004? No, we had economic self-interest back then. What I think this is an indication of is the fact that folks are really starting to support clean elections more and more. The test isn't, you can talk about party preference and whether Republicans like clean elections less or more than Democrats, but the ultimate test is participation increasing, and I think the numbers bear out that it is. So when you look at contributions, what would I suggest that you add to your study? What are we missing here? The essence of clean elections, the $5 contribution form that I'm sure many of you have been asked to sign, and probably have done so, some of you with distaste. That's the essential element of clean elections. It enables, under the law, under the precatory language of 1640, it enables folks to contribute and participate in a more meaningful way. They're really part of the system. It encourages direct communication between candidates and voters.
The event closed with a question and answer session with the speakers.
Are you asking